Last week, I started the lessons on human resource forecasting, and we were able to delve deeper into the issue of human resource demand forecasting. Fortunately for you, we were even able to illustrate how some specific quantitative techniques can be used to forecast for the demand for human resources, more specifically the regression approach. And I hope by now you are all practicing it. If you are encountering any challenge, you can always get back to me, but make sure you use the videos that I placed on the Moodle platform. Today, we are going to look at the second component of HR forecasting, which is supply forecasting. And ideally, I should have just given it to you for your own reading sake, but for the purposes of covering the course contents, I would like to take you through it briefly. Basically, the various techniques that you can use to embark on demand forecasting can also be used for supply forecasting, except that unlike the demand forecasting where your projections revolves around the need for human resources, in human resource supply forecasting, your projection revolves around the supply of human resources. So you are dealing with a different data altogether in terms of the ones that are currently available. So you can use regression analysis to do supply forecasting as well. But the factors that you'll be considering now will resolve around the availability of human resources. In the same vein, you can use trend analysis, you can use ratio analysis, and so on and so forth. That is what I'm saying. It is just a repetition of what we did last week, but so I will not be wasting much time on today's lecture. Okay. So human resource supply forecasting has been identified as one of the most important steps or stages that the HR planner embarks on in an attempt to match the deficit or surplus between the demand for and the supply of human resources. In other words, if you look at the human resource planning process and you look through the various stages that one goes through before an action plan is implemented, you realize that in one breath, you are required to embark on human resource demand forecasting. And the outcome of the demand forecast is not sufficient enough for you to take a decision or to embark on an action plan. For you to holistically understand the current well-being of your human resources, there is the need for you to augment the demand forecasting with supply forecasting so that at the end of the day, you can match the gap between the demand and the supply so that if there is a deficit, you know which action plan to implement. And if there is a surplus, you also know which action plan to go for. This implies that you can't only do one of these forecasts and relegate the other to the background. There's the need for you to do both of them so that you can arrive at a justifiable conclusion. So once the need for human resources have been forecasted, and when I say the need for, I'm referring to the demand forecasting. Just a minute. Hello. All right, do the check. Bye-bye. Hello, are you all with me?
Yes.
Good, good. So let me continue. I was saying that once the need for human resources have been forecasted, and when I say the need for human resources, I'm referring to the demand forecasting, then their availability must also be identified. So after conducting the demand forecasting projections, it becomes necessary that they also do the supply forecasting, which is the availability must be identified. Now, so the supply forecasting is concerned with the estimation of the availability of manpower in terms of their quality and quantity. So what we are saying is that basically supply forecasting encompasses your projection into the future to verify the human resources that will be available. And of those human resources, what sort of quality and quantity are they going to possess? Once you do this, then we say you are doing supply forecasting. So forecasting the availability of human resources considers both external and internal supplies. And the external supplies analysis examines the local and national labor markets to assess the implications of the availability of future people requirements. So what I'm trying to communicate over here is that when we talk about considering the external supply of human resources, we are referring to potential avenues which are outside your organizational edifice. So we are looking at potential areas like recruiting from universities. That is an external source where you can get potential employees. You're also looking at the general trends in the demographics of a particular country, whether the population is aging or it is becoming more youthful, and so on and so forth. We are also talking about you scanning the particular business market where you operate and verifying the sort of workforce that your competitors are now perhaps poaching or recruiting into their establishments. So all those avenues can be considered as an external source of supply. Then the internal one basically has to do with looking within the context of your organization. And these supplies could be moving an employee from one department to another, or promoting someone from a lower organizational position to a higher one, and so on and so forth. Now, it will also take into account the environmental changes as revealed by scenario planning. So scenario planning is one of the techniques that you can use to do the forecast, where you compare multiple scenarios under different conditions so that if the best scenario occur in future, you pick it to implement. And if the worst scenario occur, you also implement it according to the factors that was basically under it. So still on supply forecasting, we can then say that it measures the number of people likely to be available from within and outside the organization. And so within will be the internal and outside will be external aspect of the organization. The internal supply analysis cover the following areas. In other words, it takes into consideration these factors before the forecasting can be projected. The first one is that it takes into consideration the existing number of people employed by occupation, skills, and potential. And all this information can be readily retrieved from the human resource information system that an organization works with. It also considers the potential losses to existing resources through attrition, that is turnover. And this turnover could be voluntary or involuntary. It also considers potential changes to existing resources through internal promotions. And you all agree with me that whenever an employee is moved from a lower position to an upper one, a vacuum is created at the preceding position. And it becomes necessary that that portfolio is filled for the responsibilities over there to be appropriately handled. Now, changes in organizational structure, new methods in, please, I'll be with you soon, okay? Just a minute. Okay, so I was on the, I think 4 points, changes to organizational structure, new methods of working, whether you're now going to implement flexi time, flexi place, and so on and so forth. So whenever the organizational structure or normal ways of working proceedings is altered, it becomes necessary that this is factored into our futuristic projections, in the sense that if you don't take all these factors into consideration, it will get to a point where you will be having a lot of people performing fewer tasks and perhaps a lot of fewer jobs being chased by multiple employees. So the typical example can be what we are experiencing now as far as COVID-19 is concerned. Most of you can attest to the fact that your normal working proceedings have been altered. And unlike previously where maybe you had full house in terms of the workforce, right now, most organizations are working with schedules, so that if you do not fall within a schedule in a particular week or a particular day, you don't have to show up at the workplace. And that is what we call flexi time or flexible work proceedings. Now, if you are able to anticipate that in future, maybe you are going to merge some departments, and so it will not be necessary for all the previous workforce to be working like they used to. Because of this anticipation, there is also the need for you to do a projection into the future, so that you will take into consideration the various positions or the responsibilities that will be available and the people that will be necessary to perform those responsibilities. And accordingly, you also come out with your own work schedule. Effect of increases in productivity. When we say an organization is experiencing increments in their level of productivity, it means that they are now producing at a higher pace, and perhaps they are now experiencing a situation where the goods and services they are churning into the market is exceeding the customers' expectation in terms of their targets. And so it becomes imperative that you put in more human resources, perhaps salesmen who can be ensuring that you sell out all your produce. The output of talent management or training programs. Good. Oftentimes, potential employees who are captioned or identified as promising members of the organization are put under what we call talent management programs. And so if the intention of these talent management activities is to prepare them for future positions, it becomes necessary that before they complete the transitioning process, as far as the talent management program is concerned, before it comes to an end, it is necessary for you to also make room for them in terms of perhaps promoting them to a much challenging and higher position. So by reviewing the data in the human resource audit, if these days, if you have a human resource information system, then there will be no need for you to be combing through the folders and files on your human resources to audit it. So depending on where you are getting this data from and reviewing it, projections can be made for future human resource supply. The internal labor force may be affected by temporary absences such as leaves, permanent absence, and turnover. And because business organizations are construed as a going concern entity, when someone goes on leave, they don't go with their responsibilities. It has to be performed by another party or another person. When someone is permanently absent for a while, it becomes necessary that their portfolio and their responsibilities are carried out by another person. When an organization experiences turnover, be it voluntary or involuntary, it becomes necessary that the responsibilities and duties are continued. So for some of these forces, there is always the need for you to forecast about how it can impact on an organization. Now, so just like we went through in the demand forecasting, there are several specific techniques that can also be used to carry out supply forecasting. So just as we, and by the way, all these techniques can be broadly grouped under quantitative and qualitative approaches. And I think we looked at it last week. So the initial ones I'll be taking you through are all quantitative techniques. Some of them might sound like a cliche because we did it last week. So it's totally not anything new that we are doing today, except that our focus in using these techniques now will be to ascertain the availability of human resources. Unlike under the demand forecasting where our concern was on the need for human resources. So the first quantitative technique we'll be looking at is trend analysis. Trend, so you are ascertaining the trend with which supply of human resources had occurred in the past, and you're using it to project into the future. Basically, trend analysis is considered as one of the simplest methods of forecasting future human resource supply. And it assumes that past trends and ratio in employee movements are stable and indicative of future trends and ratios in employee movements. So it's pretty much straightforward. You are now going back into your archives or history to see how the factors or how the information on past employee movements occurred in there. And you are relying on it to also understand how many sort of duties and responsibilities were they handling, so that depending on the objective you want to achieve in future, you can use that trend analogy to decide on the ones that are likely to be available. So you will be taking into consideration the number of people that were, for instance, sick in the past, number of people that went on leave in the past, number of people that you lost through perhaps involuntary turnover or voluntary turnover, and so on and so forth. And you are using it as a basis to gauge that in future, if we experience this same trend, what is it likely to be? How many people are likely to be available? The information collected in the human resource audits is used to identify labor patterns which feed back into which predates back into time, and hiring patterns, retirement patterns, productivity patterns, and turnover patterns. And all these things, depending on how they spread over time, are used as a basis of projecting the number of people that are likely to be available in the future. So by examining these trends of the past, the Human Resource Department can predict the effects of the same activity on the future of the organization, because it is assumed that these patterns will remain relatively stable. Hello, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can see.
Yes, we can see.
Good, thank you. All right. So the next technique to look, senior, please, I'll be with you soon, okay? Just about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Into baby, I link one another.
No, my baby beer, but baby, I don't understand the copy.
So when we talk about skills or competency models, we are basically referring to the degree to which the forecast or projections is able to accurately match the right skills and competencies needed for each job with the right portfolios in each job. So we are saying that you don't have to put square pegs in round holes. So if you look at the various skills and competencies that are supposed to be used for the performance of a particular task, then you need to match these skills and competencies with the portfolios that are available in the organization. Now, this implies that if you don't do a proper job analysis, then you will find yourself wanting. Where are you? Okay. 2 minutes, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We are ready.
Good. Sorry, wait a minute.
It's necessary.
Yeah. So let's make progress. The competency model focuses on identifying dynamic shocks. Sorry. So copy meaning so that I'm gonna click a link now, so I'm never inside straight. Okay, in fact, I'm gonna select one then copy. What's happening? The competency model focuses on identifying the skills or competencies supplied within the organization and help in focusing future recruitment, selection, retention, training activities, blah, 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 in all these areas. So what we are saying is that depending on the competency model you create, you will be able to identify the possible shortfalls you have internally. And based on that, you can use it as a basis for recruiting new workforce into your organization and as a basis of screening to select the appropriate fit for your organization, and also as a basis of retaining people. And when you say you are using it as a basis of retaining them, it will be an avenue where you will be pumping a lot of money and compensatory resources so that it will incentivize those people with these core competencies to remain behind. Okay, so these are some definitional issues about competency and the model as far as they are concerned. So let's look at the third one. Okay, so the third one is what we call replacement charts. Replacement charts. Now, what replacement chart does is that it helps you to sort of graphically or pictorially estimate all the various positions that you have in your organization. And beside each position, you also ascertain the possible candidates or employees in the organization who can step in when those initial positions become vacant. Usually, we use replacement charts to target portfolios in an organization which have or which play instrumental role in the success of the company, so that by identifying those portfolios with substantial contribution to organizational success, it becomes necessary that you always sort of get a backup plan for those positions. Now, internally, succession analysis is one method that is used to forecast the supply of people to ascertain those positions. And when we talk about succession analysis, it's more or less like succession planning, where you are considering virtually all positions within the organization and the people that are likely to be promoted to occupy them when the need be. Okay, all right. So by having this plan or analysis in place, it means that at any point in time, even if you close your mind, you are familiar with the key players and who is likely to replace them once those key players perhaps go on retirement or they decide to resign or they get struck by an ailment and so on and so forth. A comprehensive replacement chart will include information regarding possible placements for vertical and horizontal movements. So when we talk about horizontal movement, as far as succession planning is concerned, we are talking about the extent to which people who occupy the same status, perhaps in the same department, should be able to fit into each other's shoes. So if today I am not there, a colleague who also have a background in HRM should be able to take care of my class activities, and that will be horizontal movement. When we talk about vertical moving, we are picturing the succession planning or the replacement charts from top down. From bottom up, because usually you have to succeed someone who is upper or occupying a higher position than you. That will be the vertical movement of the replacement chart. So generally, a replacement chart includes information about employees' performance, readiness to fill the position, and education, so their educational background. Now, this means that if you've not been conducting performance appraisals periodically, and you do not also have an updated job analysis outcome, then it will be very difficult for you to develop this replacement chart. This is so because the chart is done by compartmentalizing the entire business organization into its various departments and units. And within each unit, you are supposed to visually present all the people that are occupying key positions in there. And these designations are done on the basis of the job analysis that you did. In terms of the performance of the employees, those outcomes can be obtained from the the performance appraisals that you'll be conducting. in your organization. The use of staffing tables. Staffing table is closely akin to the replacement chart I just spoke about. So when we talk about staffing table, it provides a clear graphical overview of all the organizational jobs and the current number of employees in each job. And it presents a simple visualization of an organization's staffing level within each department and the organization as a whole, in an effort to help understand the combination of employees that make up an organization's internal workforce. And this information is useful in evaluating staffing levels by department, branch. So multinational enterprises will be thinking about their regional dominance or their global dominance, and so on and so forth. All right. Now, so I don't know if you've come across this assignment on the Moodle platform. This is the second assignment for you. And
Yes,
you are
it's there.
submitting it. Yeah,
It's
I know.
on the platform.
Good. In fact, some people have even started submitting this, and I was even amazed by the sort of arguments they were making. I was actually blown away. So keep it up. Those of you who are here to do it, you have to quickly solve it and present it. So it's a very, very small analogy, simple in this sense. Assume that as a result of HR planning, a hospital identifies a shortage of physical therapists, but a surplus of administrative workers. Discuss the action plan that might be taken to address these problems and explain why they must be approached carefully. Okay, so it's pretty much straightforward. It's still talking about the human resource planning process, where after doing your demand forecasting and supply forecasting, you have matched the outcome of the two in terms of the comparison of the numbers. And you have realized that within the administrative unit, there is going to be a surplus, which means in future, you are not likely to need all those administrators you have now. But with respect to the physical therapists, in future, you are going to have some of them leave the organization, perhaps through retirement, through, how do you call it, voluntary turnover, or through any other means that you are not going to retain them. So how do you resolve it? That is basically what I'm expecting from this particular assignment. And quickly, let me try and understand something. The initial assignment I gave to you, which was on our, the question, I think the question read like this, that human resource planning process is a continuous managerial activity, but not a one-time activity. Do you agree? Provide a reasoned justification for your answer. As a way of giving you feedback, I'm not sure if another opportunity might bring itself up. Let us quickly discuss for me to understand some of the hurdles you encountered in an attempt to solve that question. So how did you solve that particular question? Yes, anyone can give me feedback.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Jennifer.
Sir.
Yes,
Hello.
Jennifer. Jennifer, go on.
Me, for instance, in solving that question, what I did was I looked at the processes involved. I first of all made it known that no, be a one-time action. And then I looked at the processes involved to explain why I chose the position I took, as in the no I took. So
Okay.
I looked at the processes involved in answering it.
Okay. All right. Who again? Genevieve.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Genevieve.
Hello.
Go on. I can hear you.
Well, me say first of all, I explained the human resource planning,
Mhm.
and then I said it's a continuous process activity because of the external and internal. Well, I explained the different category under it,
Okay.
and then I gave my conclusion regard to why is a continuous
Process. Okay. Okay. All right. Yes. Husseini, do you also want to try?
Yes.
Oh, Genevieve, you are not done.
Sir,
Okay, Husseini, go on.
can I continue
Yes.
from there? Yeah, I decided to go by to say it's a continual process because human resource planning is a systematic planning that you need to plan ahead of the organization to make sure that you have you have unforeseen items that you feel that those things are likely to happen. You have to make sure that the circumstances of shortage of human resources and identify a current supply of employees and determine the future of the addition of the workforce. It's a process, it's not an event.
Okay.
So you have to make sure that you balance between the labor supply and then demand. And it's all involve planning and then planning towards the support of the company's goal.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Where is Robert Mensah? Robert, are you there? So how did you also approach the question?
Well, first of foremost, what I did is I disagree on the position that
Robert, we can hardly hear you.
Yes, Robert.
Hello?
Just mature your voice a little bit.
What I did was first of foremost, I disagree on the position that human resource is planning is one-time activity.
Okay.
So in the way forward, I try to define what human resource planning is, and then look for some main purpose in the purpose, and then I try to look at some fundamental function of the human resource planning.
Okay.
Which include the labor forecast, managing demand for employees and availability supply in the market, and then the third is the keep a balance between labor supply and then demand prediction.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome,
Sefako, are you there? Juliet?
Yes, sir. Yes.
How did you also approach it?
So first of all, I disagree, and then I explained what HR planning is. Okay. And then I give reasons why it shouldn't be a one-time activity.
Okay. All right. Any other? Sylvia, are you there?
Yes, sir.
How did you approach it? Hey, Sylvia,
also
where are you?
Sir.
Your background is very, very noisy. So it's okay. You mute your microphone.
Sylvia is enjoying music.
I am even surprised.
No, sir. I'm at the market.
Okay, all right. Naomi, are you there? Naomi,
Hello,
how did you approach the
yes,
question?
sir. Sir, I agree for the first way, then I explain about the human resource planning. Then I gave the reason why it should be a continuous process.
Okay. So let me find out from all of you. Do you unanimously agree that it is a continuous process but not a one-time activity? Unanimously, do you all agree?
Yes, sir.
Per the submissions, all of us disagree.
Which I don't get it. You disagree with what?
We disagree that it's not an event, but it's a continuous process.
Okay. So that is what I mean. So you all agree that it's a continuous process, but not one-time activity.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
all right. The moment you agree to it in that regard and make an argument for the continuity, then you're on the right path. But someone who will get 10 out of 10 will be a candidate who will first of all give a little introduction to what HRP is, Human Resource Planning, what it is. Then they will move on to either agree or disagree with the statement. Now, depending on the position you take, if you agree that it is a continuous managerial activity, then we expect that you adduce evidence or argument to buttress your position. And these arguments or factors that you can use to buttress your... Wait, if you want to ask a question, just raise up your hand, I'll call you.
Yeah, I was coming in because you said you said you need to define before you disagree, or you can disagree before you define.
Oh, it's just a matter of orientation. You can't just write it the way I will do it. But at the end of the day, we are looking for a particular composition. And within this composition, we should see some definitional issues about what HRP is and your position to the statement, whether you agree or disagree. And beyond it, your argument for the position you are taking. So if you all agree that it is continuous, why are you saying it is continuous? In your argumentation, we expect to see that you articulate how it even starts and how it gets to the point where you will be monitoring and using the feedback, feeding the feedback into the system. So once you are able to conclude that, the moment you get to the monitoring, evaluation, and feedback stage, the outcome of it will always be fed back into the planning process to make it much stronger. Then you're on the path of getting 10 out of 10. However, if you make an argument by taking us through the various stages or processes, but you are not able to hit the last part, which is how the evaluation, feedback, and monitoring component outcome or results will be used to further improve the planning, then you are not likely to get 10 out of 10. So this is just a way of giving you feedback on it, okay?
So, sir, how will we get our marks?
You will see it very soon. In fact, some of you were yet to submit it. That is why even last week I couldn't allow the marks to show, so that if you are getting 10 out of 10, you will not be sharing it with your colleague who is here to submit it. So you should be seeing it from this week.
So you put it on our model?
Yes, model platform. When you go there, you see the score you got. Do you remember how when you did the quiz, last semester, you were seeing the results. That is exactly how it will be appearing.
Struggled on that day.
Which one? The results?
But say,
yes.
But
you struggle for it, say.
That one, it was right after
processing the network. So
yes.
I didn't see the result overdue.
Hello, say.
So wait, are you talking about the quiz or this recent submission?
No,
yes.
No, I mean
last semester. Oh, last semester there, you were all now trying to adjust to the system. Right now there, you are very much experienced, even than me, when it comes to the use of technology-aided learning resources.
She said, don't reach there, not all of us.
Some of us,
so I know, some of you have even been monitoring your activity.
Are you sure you can't?
Say not all of us.
All right, so let me.
I say I can't.
It's okay. Jennifer, you were also trying to make a point. Jennifer.
What I was trying to say is, with. Hello, sir.
Yes, I am listening.
What I was trying to say about the results is with that of last year's results, the quiz was based on objective test, and then right after answering all your objective tests, the answers came automatically. So it was like as you were doing it, you were marking and grading.
Yes. This one, I deliberately set the system that way so that you don't see your results immediately, even though I have marked and inputted the results there. So you will see it. In fact, next week, you'll be doing quiz 1. And that one, you realize that you will not see your score immediately after the result, after taking the test. It will come after the entire session is over. So if I give a grace period of, for instance, 24 hours within which to do the quiz, until the 24 hours elapses, you will not see your score. Okay, all those things are a way of issuing commands in the e-learning platform, and the moment you issue it, it will just follow. Okay. So indirectly, I'm giving you a notice that next week you'll be having quiz 1. Quiz 1. So please be reading. Again, in fact, with exception about the last 3 videos, sorry, the last 2 lectures, which I'm yet to record, most of them, as far as the course outline is concerned, I have recorded and uploaded it on the e-learning platform. So I will entreat you to be watching it and noting down some of your questions, so that as and when we get the opportunity to interact like this, then we will be learning from each other.
But so directly, it's like some of them are on YouTube.
Yes, the size of the video is very huge. So if you upload it on Moodle directly, it will not work. That is why I first of all put it on my YouTube account. Then I copy the URL and paste it in the Moodle platform.
So that means those who have difficulty in accessing the Moodle platform can quickly go to your YouTube edition.
Yes, they can do that.
Page.
But this is the danger. The danger is that you are not the only class I'm teaching. I am teaching strategic management. I'm teaching other HR courses. So when all those videos are on my YouTube channel.
So you can search for, we can search for edition. Then what you have to do is give it titles.
Oh, Master, all the titles are on the Moodle platform. And then that is why, yes, that is why I prefer that you click on the link on the Moodle platform so that it will take you to the specific video. Otherwise, you might be watching some of my videos which are not currently relevant for the course you are taking, but perhaps it will be relevant when you get to level 400 or maybe when you start your master's. So that is the only caution. But as for the content, it is always useful as far as you HR students are concerned. Alternatively, one of you can also be downloading and sharing with your colleagues. Okay. So please don't forget, next week, quiz 1. and it is going to cover lecture 1 to lecture 4. In fact, I think lecture 1 to, lecture 4.
Say.
Yes, who am I speaking with?
So for Juliet.
Okay,
What is the quiz going to be like? Is it Zoom or?
Okay. The quiz will be conducted on the Moodle platform.
Okay.
Yeah, and it will be timed. So when you are answering the questions, you have to be mindful of the pace with which you read through the questions. And let me also add that I have activated the artificial intelligence component of the quiz session, so that if you try to outsmart it, it will rather, perhaps it might even end in tears. And this is so because last year, what I realized was that some of you were, in an attempt to answer the questions, you were recording them and screenshotting and circulating it. This time around there, all the red flags have been, the buttons have been put on. So you have to be very much, how do they even put it? You have to observe all the examination protocols as far as online exams is concerned.
Okay.
Okay, so Anita Benson. Hello,
Yes,
Anita.
sir.
How are you?
Yes, sir.
Are you from whole campus?
No, please. Friday.
Anita. Hey.
Yes.
Are you a top-up?
She's a top-up student.
Yes, please.
Because I know all the names, I'm familiar with the names, but your name is not. All right, so do you have a question for me?
I just joined the class today. I got late admission. That was last Tuesday.
Okay, so don't worry. Let's speak after class. Try and get my number and call me.
Okay, sir. All right. Thank you.
So we are done for today. The continuation of today's class is today we are supposed to start with human resource development. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
And what are you currently viewing?
We are watching the assignment too.
Oh, okay. Then let me quickly change my screen.
Yeah.
Oh, can you see it now?
Yeah, lecture 5.
Good. Now, when you go to my channel, even on the Moodle platform, I have recorded this session over there. So
you know what?
Yes.
Many of us are having problem accessing the Moodle platform.
Who am I speaking with?
Ronald.
Do you know Mr. There is one man on your campus, I've forgotten the name, who is responsible for ITSS?
I think Juliet.
Not Juliet. It's not Juliet.
No, I think Juliet gave me the number the other day. It was difficult getting him online, and I learned the number Juliet gave me is an official number. So normally, sometimes weekends, especially, it's difficult getting him.
Okay.
It's not on our campus.
Come again.
That number is for Richmond. It's not on our campus.
Richmond. That's the name. Richmond. I tried to call Richmond.
Richmond is in Accra. Richmond is in
Accra, yes.
Okay, there is one man in your campus. I've forgotten the name. I think.
But today I want to try and then get back so that the passcode they gave me.
Mr. What?
Agbenyega whole campus.
No, so what's the first name of that man?
I don't know.
He was a former SRC president or so.
Okay, don't worry. You right after class, get back to me. I will link you up. He is
Thank you
actually
so much.
responsible for enrolling students when it comes
the
to your
Moodle platform.
IT, in addition to the Moodle platform, any IT related issues that you have. So for instance, to reset your password, he can quickly create an Outlook account for you, and then you will use it as a basis of resetting it. So he will be able to help you. Once you sort that one out, then if you are not finding my course, I can also assist you from my end here. So let's speak after class.
Okay, thanks.
Then you assist Anita too. Anita is also having.
Anita, okay, I will contact
that was
Anita
why I said.
Together.
That was why I said you should get back to me after class. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Please, let's make
Juliet,
progress.
I hope you have his number.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay.
All right. So all of you mute your microphones now.
So Anita Benson, I will link up after the lecture.
All right. All right.
Okay. Ronald, are you in Ho?
Yes, I am. No, yes.
But I thought Anita is in.
Takoradi.
Yes, by contacting you, I mean, I will link up with her so that we see how we
all
can.
All right.
Get our problem solved.
These days, social networking is very, very important. You might never know.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so mute your microphone. Now, so I'm saying that all the lectures on the foundations or intro to HRD have been recorded and placed on the Moodle platform. But I will also share my YouTube link with you so that you go there and look for them. In fact, it even goes much deeper than what you have here. So some of them will be information that you might need when you get to level 400 or maybe when you are doing your master's. So when you go, take your time and go through it, okay? All right. Any other question? So please make sure you read ahead and prepare for the impending quiz on next week. Again, those of you that are having login issues, quickly get in touch with the appropriate authorities. Once you get back to me, I'll be able to direct you to the appropriate authorities to resolve it for you. Immediately you are able to log onto the platform. Then we can talk about the courses which you are seeing and courses which you are not seeing. And it is very, very important that you do it now because the end of semester is likely to be like what you did last semester. Okay. As we speak now, they haven't changed their mind that maybe you're coming back to campus to write the end of semester exams here. So if it is going to be online, then it means you need all these credentials, the login, ID, and password to be able to partake in it. So it's in as much as we need it for the quiz and the assignments we are doing in the interim, you also need it for your end of semester assessment. So please work very swiftly on it. All right, so thank you very much for the day and enjoy the rest of your day.